Hi. So I got the binding put on this little jungle quilt. I didn't get the back side sewn on yet. As you can see, there's pins in it, and I only have it pinned in this corner so far. So because I only pin a little bit at a time, otherwise I jab myself when I'm moving my quilt around. I had a question. Somebody posed a question for me on my page. And asked me what type of thread I use. Well, I have been using a bold quilting thread in my other quilt, and I only have regular quilting and piecing thread for the orange color, so that's what I'm going to be using in this quilt to sew the rest of the binding on the back side. So I'm going to do that. I have it already in my quilt, ready to pull the thread through and make the little knot. Sometimes you have to work with the thread a little bit. I have this one double thread on it instead of one string, but this one's it seems thinner for quilting thread, so I just doubled it. And I'm going to sew along the edge here because I think double makes it a little bit stronger when the thread isn't bold thread. The bold thread is thicker, much thicker. You can see it and feel it. This thread is not as thick, so I doubled it for that reason. Now, try not to take too big of a stitch here. It's about a 16th to an 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little wider. But it's up to you if you want to make it smaller or a little wider. It's your preference. Like I said, not everybody does everything the same, but it's whatever you care to do or whatever you like to do. If you want to take a smaller stitch because you think it's more secure, that's fine too. I'm just using my thumb as a little measure, not really measuring, but so I know where my needle is. I'm putting my thumbnail right there, and that's where I push my needle up through the fabric. And remember, here is your stitch line from sewing it on this side. So when you pull your fabric over, you want to make sure that's covered. It doesn't have to be covered very much. You know, you want it to look even on both sides. So if your fabric comes right down to it, then that's where you need to be, right? So that your fabric is just covering up the stitch line. Doesn't need to go past it. It just needs to cover it up so you're not seeing the stitch line from the other side of your binding. Okay. So I picked orange because when you stitch it, you don't really see the orange. It matches the binding. And you're not really going to see it on the white, but if you go through the blue fabric on the other side, you might see it a little bit. So just watch how you're putting your needle through the 3 layers of fabric. Make sure you don't go the whole way through. and so it's not going to show on this side. You want to go through the middle of the 3 layers so that it's not showing on either side. So that's why they call it a blind stitch, because it's mostly hidden. I mean, you can see the stitch a little bit. It's not real noticeable. So. And like I said before, I picked out the orange because it was something different. It matches the orange stripes in the quilt, and there's also a little orange tiger in there. And I thought it would be something different instead of using just blue or white or yellow. I could have used the yellow. There's a yellow tiger. So, you know, when you put your binding on, it's like the icing on the cake. You want the binding to stand out, and you know, pick something that blends or ties it all together. So that's up to you. I don't know if you're seeing what I'm doing here. I'm getting up a little higher on the video than I should. But the type of thread that you use, that's up to you too. I mean, my white thread is a bold quilting and piecing thread also. Oh, it's actually only for hand. The bold is only for hand quilting, put it that way. I don't use this in my machine because it's too thick. But this one is a little thinner, and it says you can use it for piecing also. So it would work in your machine because it's a thinner thread. Whereas the bold thread, you can see it's quite a bit thicker. But I do like it more when I quilt with it, because it does make the stitches stand out a lot more. I think so. So it's up to you, but whether you like the bold. Sometimes the bold is a little bit harder to work with, only because I find that it knots up. You get more knots in it for some reason. So you got to be careful that, you know, you're checking for knots. Sometimes I'll have a knot underneath and I didn't catch it. So no, speaking of knots, I got one here. There we go. Yeah, I guess all thread will knot up to some degree, but I find the bold hand quilting thread will knot a little bit more. So, but I do like it. I mean, it's not bad to work with. So I'm almost at the corner. I don't know if I might be able to do the corner before I cut the thread. Maybe not. I don't like to leave myself with so short of a piece of thread that I have a hard time tying it off. So, because my fingers don't work as well as they used to. So I'm going to, well, if I can get this knot out of here. I don't know. I'm getting more knots in this thread than I had in the other thread. All right, I'm gonna cut it here. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. What am I doing? I'm talking too much, that's what I'm doing. Okay, I'm going to tie it off right here. Gonna make a little knot in the quilt right where I stopped. And then I'm going to go through the fabric a little bit, and I usually tie it underneath when I do my binding. Oh goodness, now I did get a knot in it. Okay, that's not gonna work. Well, let's see here. I'm going to tie it off right here. I was going to do it underneath, but it'll be okay. It won't be that noticeable. So I just tie it there. Maybe I'll tie it one more time. Usually make a couple knots in it, and then I cut it off, but I usually knot it under the fabric, but that one got a knot in it. I usually bring it underneath and I knot it, but it got a knot on top and I couldn't get it through, and then it broke. So sometimes you gotta improvise and just do what you can do. Okay, so I actually am at 12 minutes on my recording, and I don't like to go too much over that. Takes so long for it to download. So I guess I'm going to stop right here, and then I will do another video as we go around the corner. Okay, so keep quilting, have fun doing it, and we'll talk to you next time.